My name is Chris Kendall. I'm from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I'm 33 years old and I've been interested in changing my health through my diet and lifestyle practices for about the last 16 years.
Right. And well, for about 10 years ago or something, you changed your diet. Did you have any, what was your lifestyle and diet back then?
Well, just around 10 years ago, I was going to school to become a holistic nutritionist, and I was a high raw vegan. So I was basically eating raw for breakfast and most of the time for lunch, and then for dinner I was eating really simply, eating like sweet potatoes and cooked broccoli, and otherwise like I was like fermenting oats and making oat burgers and stuff like that, and eating and living quite simply actually.
But if we go even further back then, how was your diet and lifestyle back then?
Well, when I was about 17, 18 really, I was living in Alberta, and I was in Canada. I'm from Canada, Saskatoon, and at that time I was pretty poor, so I was eating whatever I could that was cheap, and what I could get at that time was a lot of extra large bacon double cheeseburger pizzas, cheap beer, cheap packs of cigarettes, lots of marijuana, burgers, grease, you know, as fatty and as meaty as I possibly could.
Right.
Really just, you know, pretty gross meat. I was a carnivore that just like would take any dare and just eat any sludge I possibly could.
And how often would you drink or take some marijuana?
Well, I'd usually, first thing when I woke up and first thing when I go to bed was smoking a cigarette. I usually didn't smoke weed until the end of the night, but I did smoke usually every day. I usually drank every day or at least every other day at the least.
Wow.
And
like beer or alcohol?
Usually beer or vodka. I skateboarded as much as I could possibly, and that slowly dwindled and dwindled the more fast food and the more alcohol I basically consumed. But, yeah, it was,
and how was your health back then?
It was steadily getting worse. It was really steadily getting worse. I felt more and more depressed. I had more joint pain, less coordination, less strength. I just wasn't happy in my body, and I went from being really boisterous, really happy, really just always focusing on the positive and having a blast, to being really self-conscious, really irritable, really negative in spirals in my mind. Outwardly, some people wouldn't have noticed it, but I was always really negative in my mind, and just not really a happy person. I really got to a place where I, every night when I go to bed, I'd wish I didn't wake up. Like I was so bummed out. I'd be on an aroplane, I'd wish it would crash. I didn't even care about the people around me. I was just like, I want to die. I hate life.
Oh, and how old were you then?
I was like that was when I was 18, just turning 19. Oh. Around then.
And any other health issues that you were dealing with, or medication you took or anything?
No medication. I had candida, definitely chronic candida, and joint pain, and just more the kind of the depression.
Right. And what made you change to the raw food and holistic lifestyle?
Well, really what got me to change was skateboarding, because I'd always skateboarded. It was like my biggest passion. Is what actually kind of got me into the partying lifestyle as well, because I like moved up the ranks as an amateur and met a lot of people, and in Alberta the drinking age was 18, so that's why I moved there at 18.
Oh, right.
And so, you know, skateboarding got me there, but then also skateboarding, because I started feeling worse and worse, and I'm like, this sucks, I gotta figure something out, like what can I do in order to feel better? I found yoga, and yoga brought me into holism, into a holistic lifestyle, and it introduced me to a vegetarian diet, and to just the concept that we are what we eat, and that it makes a huge difference in our lifestyle, what we put into our body through our mouth.
Right.
So.
And what happened, like health-wise, when you started to change your diet?
It became a huge passion. It just became as big of a passion as skateboarding did, to the point where it's like all I wanted to do is study nutrition and eat better, and it was a transitionary period of a good like 5 years where I went from eating as crappy as I could on purpose, like going to the dollar store and buying like dollar burritos just so I could afford to buy more beer and cigarettes, to the point where I didn't drink at all. I was full vegetarian, and like I said, got to high raw vegan, and felt great spending anything I had and putting my money into quality food to nourish myself and focus more on all the other aspects of health.
And this 80-10-10 diet, when did you go fully in on that?
Well, you know, interestingly enough, before I ever met Doug Graham, I was eating basically 80-10-10. I was just eating a high carb, low fat, mostly raw diet comprised of plant foods, a vegan diet. And then I was at a vegan health festival when I was midway through my schooling in Vancouver at CSNN, the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. And at this vegan health festival, Doug Graham was one of 2 or 3 raw food speakers. And when I seen him on stage, he really had a glow to him. He was on fire, to the point where I was like, this is undeniable, the message, the vitality he's spreading, and the science and the common sense he shared. It hit me. You know, I'd already been studying nutrition for 5 years and been on that road. And
so you were hooked on fruits and veggies.
I was hooked on it. The next day I went 100% raw. And it wasn't a huge shift for me because, you know, like I said, I was mostly raw before that, but it was a perspective shift. All of a sudden I just understood, it made sense, and I just dove right in. And it was so wild because in those first 2 days raw, my heart center just burst open. Like I just felt so much universal love and connection. I'd walk down the street with tears running down my face, just feeling love for every single person, seeing them as a brother and sister. And I was just like, in that moment, you know, up till that moment, all the stuff I did, all the research I did, all of the aspects of health I got into was for skateboarding. It was to skateboard more. I wanted to be a professional. When my heart opened like that, I was like, you know, skateboarding's fun. I love it. I'm always going to do it, but it's a means for me to share and grow through sharing this, because it feels so good to be healthy, to feel alive, to feel every cell in your body just like screaming for, you know, just for the love of light. You know, it's the best. And what about your health issues? What happened there? Well, the candida, which I had, you know, suffered with since my mid-teens until my mid-20s, until right before then, even when I went high raw, I was still putting in more fat than possibly was really good for me, and still experiencing issues with that, and had oils in my diet. And when I got into 80-10-10 raw vegan and excluded oils and ate really low fat, it took like seriously a few days to it actually took a few weeks for most symptoms to clear, and then by the end of the month all my symptoms were completely cleared of candida.
Oh wow.
Depression, I mean, it was slowly going away through my gradual transition, but I went from moments of depression to like being the happiest kid I knew all the time, back like when I was like 15 again. And my joint pain went away, and my enthusiasm, my athletic abilities in all sense of the word went up, and I just felt better and better. Right.
And athletic performance, like can you give an example?
Well, I mean, when I first went raw, I was all of a sudden like biking for 2-3 hours a day and skateboarding for 2-3-4 hours a day, and just going non-stop, you know. So I had some long-term injuries that I was overcoming. So in little bits and times, I had to take a relaxed break, you know, let my ankles heal up. And 3 years into raw food, I fractured my back, and that's been a bit of a struggle on and off. But other than that, I'm more than confident in sitting in the knowledge that if I wasn't eating this way, I wouldn't be skateboarding right now. You
would be a broken bone.
I think I'd be a lot more broken, because I'm not someone who likes to push through pain. You know, like, I love skateboarding, but when my body starts to hurt, I stop.
Okay.
And my body was starting to hurt all the time, and now I feel good almost all the time. So it's awesome.
And depression, you still, you just feel generally happy all the time, or?
You know, as time has went on, I've come to know that, you know, food is only one aspect of health, and our perception and the rest of our holistic lifestyle comes into play. So I've had times where I went up and down with my my satisfaction and just my perception being focused on the cup being half full instead of half empty. But it's been a steady march. You know, they say 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. I've become a happier and healthier person all around as time has gone on. And
drugs and alcohol?
They're not really a thing in my present. You know, there's been some times for spiritual practices, moving along with the energetic body rather than the physical. But that's still more in my past, and you know, it's not something I do to get away from. You know, when I started doing those things, it was because I wanted to and I enjoyed them. And then I got to a point where I was doing them because I felt like I had to be in with the group, or otherwise to hide from the things I was feeling in the moment. And that's nowhere to be seen.
Do you have a final good advice for somebody who is dealing what you used to deal with?
Well, you know, what I really like to think and what I feel is that fruit is God's love for us. You know, if we're not loving ourselves enough, We can just start with loving action. Sometimes it's hard to start with a thought. We have a thought that's repeating, I'm not worth it, I'm not this, I don't like this, I don't like anything, whatever those negative thoughts are. They can be really tough to switch because they are born first in action and then in word and then thought. So if we can start, rather word, then thought, word, action, then thought. So if we can start instead by the word and the action, and we can just start feeding ourselves more of God's love, eating more fruits, treating ourselves really well, getting enough sleep, all these things start to turn around. You feel better, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a completely different space, and it's much sweeter. It feels a lot better. So.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Absolute pleasure, definitely.
If you would like to know more about how you can improve your health naturally, there are 2 things you can do right now. Firstly, you can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, and that way you'll receive videos every time I make a new one. Secondly, you can go to my website. It's www.FruityLou.com. Here you can get a Get Started guide where I tell you all about the diet and lifestyle that I used, and you can also download my top 5 tips totally free. All you gotta do is click on the screen right here.